Mike, good morning. It's good to see you. Do you expect today for former President Obama or Speaker Pelosi, Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, will they do it today? And if they don't, are they really holding out the possibility for somebody else at an open convention?
No, they're not. So the Democratic Party recognizes that their nominee is going to be Vice President Harris, and she plunged in yesterday, spent 10 hours on the phone with labor leaders, civil rights leaders, business leaders, congressional leaders, like making calls to solidify her position. Those leaders have held back a little bit because the Democratic Party may want to have a mini process, like allow the possibility for other voices. They just don't want people to be able to say the Democratic Party is being undemocratic. But Joe, make no mistake, Vice President Harris has epic advantages here, including her command of the campaign structure, raised 50 million overnight, and the DNC, the White House, her historic status, all formidable advantages.
The Donald Trump himself, just any candidate probably gets X number of votes just from being not Joe Biden at this point. But Mike, it's probably fair to say that some rehab probably needs to be performed somehow on the vice president, given just the overall perception for the past couple of years, whether it's the border or some of the, I don't know, some of the quotes, some of the moments that we've seen. You know, if you're anti-Trump, it's not going to matter at all. She's also 19 years younger, so right out of the, she can also, you know, just focus on women's health and abortion, et cetera.
100%.
But
Joe, that's a great point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, that's a great point. Democrats are going to say, you want to talk age and fitness? Bring it on. You're right. She's 59. The president is 78. Totally correct. Reproductive rights, a central issue for so many people. Like, she suddenly is able to talk about that in a central way, potential game changer. And Joe, a huge frame that you're going to hear from Democrats is they're going to talk about the prosecutor. She's the former elected DA of San Francisco, Attorney General of my home state of California, the prosecutor versus the convicted felon. So you're going to hear a lot of that. But yes, Joe, you're right. And what Democrats will say is most people don't know her. She has a golden moment here to introduce herself, define herself, talk about those issues. But Republicans say this was a sinking ship. Doesn't matter who you put at the top of it. Republicans' three-point plan, Joe, is going to be, one, they're going to say everything we were going to say about Biden on inflation and crime, everything we were going to say about Biden, she owns that. Plus, we're going to say, what did she know? When did she know it? Like, was she complicit in not revealing the president's condition? And they will say she was given the responsibility for the border. How did that turn out? So, Joe, all of that is why Jim Vandehei and I, in a column at the top of Axios this morning, are calling it the chaos campaign. America tossed into uncertainty we haven't seen since the 1960s.
They'll also talk about not even getting to Iowa the first time around, probably, as not a great presidential candidate. They're also going to talk about that she's further left, much further left than Joe Biden, although he seemed to go along with the party pretty much in that wing. But they'll say that they're going to brand her as like an ultra progressive.
No question. What Republicans were saying to me is we wanted to run against liberal leftists, and now it's easier. You have somebody who's literally from California. The Harris campaign now, it's officially the Harris for President campaign. will push back. She'll be able to talk confidently about how she was actually a very tough prosecutor, which, Joe, you'll appreciate the nuance of this, was actually hard for her to discuss when she was running for the Democratic nomination. Now it's a plus.
Right. Marijuana, people in jail, and and when she was asked if she smoked marijuana, she was laughing about, oh yeah, I did, but they're in jail. I don't know. It's weird.
Hey, Mike, we've heard from a lot of folks over the last 6 months who desperately wanted President Biden to get out of the race. You even heard from the Bill Ackmans of the world for a long time before they decided to endorse or put their weight effectively behind former President Trump, this idea that they were really just trying to get Biden out of the race in hopes that there was somebody else that was going to come in his place. The question is, do you think that any of those people who sort of were pushing for that but then ultimately landed in the Trump camp switch again?
Did you see what Ackman tweeted, though?
Yeah, I did. And that's why
he's not coming back.
He's not coming back. And that's why I'm asking the question, Mike.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, there's been very little sign of that out of the box. And I can tell you that President Biden, who finally yielded to what those people have been saying for months and months, were told that it was finally the data that did it, that there was just no path, that over the past 3 weeks since the debate, like they tried everything. Nobody could give him data points that showed him winning. But this is where Republicans feel like they have huge momentum after the convention. Like people are, just based on human nature, people are unlikely to switch back. And they came out of this incredibly strong convention. Now Democrats, who have just 4 weeks till Chicago, 100-ish days till the election. That is a short time to try to reboot a campaign, to introduce a candidate to much of America, get all the wings of the party flapping in one direction. That is all a lot.
Mike, how important, therefore, is the vice presidential nominee?
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, they're never that important, right? But
well, maybe in this case it would be.
This case they are. This case, it's probably more important than ever to say, yeah, well, we do have someone. It's very strange because you'd like to pick someone who you could see taking over. They didn't do it last time, but you could pick someone that you could see taking over as president or even being not co-president. I don't know. It's bad to talk about it that way because you're giving the vice president short shrift. Vice President Kamala Harris, why does she need a great vice president? You don't talk about it that way with other ones. So you're immediately going to get the sexist comments and everything else, Mike.
I think a different spin on that, and the usual approach with the vice president is the physician's creed, do no harm. And in this case, I think we'll see somebody who will broaden her appeal. So as your viewers know, Democrats, now Vice President Harris, absolutely have to win Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. The ticket currently down in all of those states. Who can help them there? So look for a moderate Democrat, somebody who, like she has the history. I don't think you'll have two history makers on this ticket. And this is a place that data will come into play. Like who can
Gretchen Whitmer,
steal this deal? Because I can tell you
Yeah,
Democrats suddenly feel this is very...
Michigan would be good.
But you're saying you don't see
You
two
don't see
history
it.
makers,
Right.
meaning you don't see two women on the ticket?
I can tell you there's some Democrats are reluctant to do that. That conversation has not been had, has not been run. Governor Whitmer, absolutely very popular across the party, like instantly a front runner for whenever the next time the job is open. But Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, who's going to play there? I'm going to look for that because that is what ultimately sealed President Biden's decision. And the campaign knows this is the ticket to win. And after watching President Trump in his speech, they're like, this guy is beatable. They're going to try to figure out how to do it.
I just wondered, Josh Shapiro,
Pennsylvania.
I mean, if you're talking no history makers, Josh Shapiro is Jewish. That'd be history making.
Right.
Pete Buttigieg would be history making. Are you knocking out all those demographics, Mike?
No, not at all. And not making any prediction because I doubt that decision has been made. That will be one consideration. Like, what will be the broadest appeal to the most American?
Right. What do you
And
think of the names like you've heard McCraven thrown around, you've heard Mark Kelly thrown around? Does that change the dynamic?
Yeah, so Admiral McCraven, Make Your Bed would be a creative pick, very popular with business. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, someone who's gotten a lot of conversation in the last couple of days. Like, again, those are people that are going to speak to a broad swath of America. Somebody who's additive is what I would look for.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for your coverage.
Appreciate it. Let's know what you hear when you. I think. I don't know. Those other people got to get on board. I think that's kind of glaring. It's not who endorses you, it's who hasn't endorsed you at this point. But you figure it comes around.
What do you think the chances are that like Manchin literally jumps in the next 24 or 48 hours?
I think every time we hear he might, he never does, and I don't.
But I mean, he's not jumping into the general election. He's jumping into the Democratic delegates, and the Democratic delegates may not be very friendly to somebody like the party.
That briefly made me think. I like him. Briefly made me think. It did. So that he may know that.
We haven't talked about the other Sorkin's recommendation. Aaron Sorkin's recommendation.
No. Been there, done that. No thanks.
The Mitt Romney.
You wouldn't vote for him ever.
That would be so interesting.
He didn't pay any taxes in his entire life, Harry Reid said, till it was proven that he did.
You don't think that would be an interesting move?
He's got a file full of women, and he's got a binder full of women. No, go away. You've had your chance. You were a horrible candidate. Manchin.
But he still would have to go through the DNC.
That's a problem.
This is
Manchin Hogan. Bring him back.
Be interesting.
Well, you're just a watcher.
I'm just watching.
You want me to say things, but you're just a watcher.
Correct.
All right, how about I say something about what's coming up?